Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this first webinar of Paytiko. It's nice to see you all. I see the numbers are growing fast. My name is Milen. I'm the Chief Product Officer, and you are all very welcome. So today we're kind of experimenting on this platform, so ease up on technical issues if there are any, but we'll try to avoid such cases. I want to thank every one of you for attending this session and hope that by the end of it, we'll get many, many more attendees. So the purpose of this webinar is to give you an understanding of how orchestration works, what's the benefit potentially for your business, and how you can validate your current structure and what we can do for you. Let's start from the beginning. We are a multinational company based in 3 different offices across the world, founded here in Bulgaria. We also have an office in the UAE and in Cyprus. Right now, we are a bit over 230 employees across the world, with the sole purpose of giving you the most advanced orchestration on the market. Our intention was always that this product serves all kinds of businesses. So when I say all kinds, we are literally servicing anyone and everyone, from small to medium businesses to large-scale enterprises, which outnumber our employees by the thousands. I prepared a brief presentation on how we work, and then we will go into a structured session on what the difference is between having a generic payment service and having a large technology backing your business up. Right now, we are at the forefront of the orchestration market. The company exists a bit over 5 years. We started it back in the end of 2020, and it took us around probably about 7 months before the first product was live. I was sitting in the room where I am right now. Considering the fact that we want to create something that's unique, it's been a long journey since then. We've had many variable changes. We've made the product very optimized in terms of feedback. We also had the ability to receive great extensive feedback from various customers. Our first customer came by chance, actually. We were just preparing to launch the product, and the first time that the product was ready was coincidentally around the let's call it the beginning of the year. The customer was sitting next to me on an airplane, and I said to myself, okay, this guy is talking about e-commerce. He ran a series of shops. Of course, the only reason why we ended up connecting is, again, as I said, chance, but the customer was pretty obnoxious. He was talking loud on an airplane when everybody else was quiet. So I was overhearing what he was saying. He was a few seats away from me. And, I heard the following things. I have an online business. It's built on a platform called Shopify, and I'm having issues with my payments. He was actually talking to one of his employees, whereas the employee wasn't understanding what the issue was because the revenue was quite big even at the time. So we kind of, overheard each other saying something, because I actually responded to him talking loudly by saying, okay, if you're running this business, how do you maintain your payments? And he said, well, I'm just using a generic payment provider, which was attached to his website at the time. And I said to myself, okay, you know that we're a payments platform, we'd be happy to help you. And the customer was like, okay, well, let me see what you offer. It took me probably about a month to a month and a half to wait on him to be ready to meet me and to finalize that. But during that month and a half, we've had several short calls. And I can tell you one thing, businesses are always interested in how they can scale. They want to scale with ease. They are not technical, they don't get confused that someone that runs a business knows everything about a business. 90% of the business owners are entrepreneurs. We don't want you to be technical. That's part of the reason why the product exists. The other part is that we understand what it is that drives business. And the only thing that drives business is not money. It's time for your money. So when you attract consumers, let's say you're running a retail business like our first client, he was having trouble with converting the markets that were most important to him, which were the Nordic markets in Europe. Now, anyone can say they're using a channel. The channel can be whatever, but end of the day, it's time, it's speed, it's cost and efficiency. When we understood that the costs and efficiency of the previous provider of the customer were no longer relevant to him, I suggested to him that he would give us a shot. And that's pretty much how the first customer came in about 4 years and a little bit months ago. The customer himself wasn't aware of the word orchestration. Most businesses don't know what the word orchestration means. They understand that it means something having to do with orchestrating an action. Now, mostly when you hear that word, the payment word doesn't come to your mind. We are not a traditional gateway. We don't offer gateway connectivity. What we offer is a platform that if you attach your business to it, we will help you streamline the entire process. So we're talking from the payment page, from the user perspective, to the technical part, to even leveraging off our provider connections. At this moment, we're integrated with a bit over 700 financial institutions across the world. We have access to all the markets, except the North Pole, where probably no one does business there anyway. Obviously, we would like to break into that market too. But the point is that our sole purpose is to help the businesses grow. It's not to infringe costs or to detriment someone's budget. If you have a startup business or a business that helps you want to grow, you're having, for example, a side business, you want to make it your main business, all the more purpose for you to understand how and why it's time to switch from a traditional provider, like probably anyone on this map, so that you can better understand why the payments market is a challenging and always ever evolving market for your needs. At this time, we have customers all over the world in every single continent with all kinds of requests, from local payments to global payments, from card payments to crypto, instant banking wires, and pretty much anything that you would think that is possible, we have it. On the flip side, the other part of the businesses that we serve are the ones that want to make outgoing transactions, the so-called payouts. There is a lot of supply chain businesses that offer, their supplier partners the ability to receive funds. Now, doesn't necessarily mean they are retail. The retail is consumers. We're targeting end customers somewhere around the world, and those consumers want to pay. However, The other part is the so-called supply chain. For example, you have a business that is running exclusively for corporate customers only. You want your customers to pay you. Well, traditionally, around 10 years ago, everyone was paying with each other by wire transfer. This is no longer the case. The wire transfer is now becoming an obsolete method which only relies solely on the so-called dinosaur infrastructure of the past 15 years, let's say. The new wire transfers, however, are evolved. They are now instant, and they are with the flip of a button. They are either with a QR code, or even more, there are now face scan wire transfers. That's actually a new initiative coming into Europe, where the consumer will be able to scan his face with his phone and will be able to pay an invoice, which sounds a bit like the sci-fi movies, but it's coming. Maybe in the next 2 years it will become a global standard. Who knows? At this time, we understand that the market of any business relies on two parts: the technical perspective and the consumer facing perspective. Whatever's in between, it doesn't affect your customers, it affects you. So if you want to be in a supply chain where a service provider is giving you reliance like us, then that's the time, because all service providers that give connectivity, they have to be fully uptime. We don't have any downtime. We're never off. In fact, we're barely even sleeping, if that matters. The uptime means that the payment system is active 24 hours, 365 days a year. Doesn't matter of holidays, updates, anything like that. The other part is the choice, variety. If you have variety and you can choose different factors that can help you, increase your conversions, increase your streamline, make your customers more efficiently paying, then that's the purpose of orchestration. We offer a geo-targeted function that allows your customers to pay only when they need to pay with the right method. So before, let's say that the guy I met on the airplane had an e-commerce business targeting all over the world. People would join, some would try to pay, they would get a decline, they wouldn't be able to succeed. This is what all businesses are facing. They're facing immense marketing costs. Everyone wants the customers. We're all targeting the same world. We're all living on the same planet. However, some are more optimized than the others. And those that are optimized are the ones that win. It is no more age of simplicity. Everything is complicated. Technology is complicated. Running a business is complicated. By far, the business owners feel it most, whether it's taxes, whether it's service providers, whether it's even their own bank accounts. At this day, you need to adapt to environment. While technologies may change, reliance on orchestration relieves you from the burden of having to adopt to additional integrations. So on one side, we relieve you from technical matters. You don't have to do anything technical if you're using our service. On the second side, well, always the pricing is what matters. We're running on a single fixed fee on its monthly subscription, as any other service provider that runs as a software as a service would do. However, should you give us a chance, like orchestration should be purposed for, we would find the best provider for your needs. That means that we wouldn't just let you Google something with the keywords payments for my business X, Y, and Z. We would actually give you a platform that knows your business best And trust me when I say this, I know your business as much as you do, except I'm not running it. We only want to give you the choice and the freedom to choose the right providers. So whether it's card payments or crypto or local payments, all these things have many, many layers of complex pricing. Our target is to get to market within 24 hours after setup if you're running on a generic platform like WooCommerce, Shopify, OpenCart, Magento, which is now Adobe. On those, we can get running within 24 hours. If you're a custom-built website, then our API is the simplest you can get. It's a copy-paste code, and once we give you the account, you can go live. If you have a good developer, then that's the only work you need to do. But beyond that, consider this. Every business that runs on technical supply, they always need to maintain staff, right? Which is another burden of cost. Our goal is not to overburden you with extra cost. It is to relieve you of the cost. So in case that you're running on a freelance developer, the developer only needs to integrate once. That development is to get the platform live. After that, we are taking charge of all updates and all setups. In fact, we will even introduce you to the providers that are relevant for your business within that time. Before you can blink, we already know what you're aiming for. So to give the upside, there is no other way of businesses that want to target the global market, that want to adopt to all the customers' needs, running on a single provider. It simply doesn't exist. Even your favorite global providers are very limited in their offering. They are very induced to serving specific markets, and they're also very picky. So most probably the businesses that have tried to run on generic providers have faced automation, complication, and loss of revenue. Because what does the entrepreneur think? They think that I'm going to start the business and I'm going to start marketing. And then they start all these campaigns, and campaigns go everywhere, and customers join, they come from the landing page, but the payments just don't cover. So we're getting down to that point. Why do we exist? We exist because we are the bridge between the market and the payments world. If I had met you probably 5, 7, 8, 9 years ago, orchestration was a barely existing word, and it wasn't used by anyone outside of the industry specific. Now it's becoming a common trend, a trend that people understand brings value to their own growth. Keep in mind, I'm repeating, we're not charging volume-based fees. We're charging a fixed fee as a software as a service provider. That means that we're not burdening you with costs. Even if you find the freelance developers and they ask, okay, do I need to maintain this code, or do I need to do anything every month? You don't, because we are not changing anything. Our external code hasn't changed since we launched the system, which means that our customers haven't had to do any changes since we launched the system. We are also adaptive. We have made a mobile-friendly platform that allows customers to monitor all their activity from their mobile. Now imagine that you run a business and the business reaches to the point where your price cuts, which you've made to optimize your business, aren't cutting it anymore. That part of the business essentially means that you need to optimize. Our keywords for running the business are optimize and evolve. We want you to evolve while optimizing, and vice versa. Now, go back to thinking about where a business can be if it's running on one generic provider. It can never grow from the pricing perspective because the cost stays the same. and it can never grow from the coverage. So you're stuck. You're stuck without moving. You're stuck without understanding why the situation has led to this point. 30-40% of the customers that reach us, they are already experiencing hardship prior. They reach us, they say, okay, we understand you have a service. We don't understand the full length of it, but we want to understand why we need the service. And we tell them it's very simple. With the orchestration service, we're going to give you better providers than your existing providers. We're going to leverage our technical connection. And on top of that, we will add all the providers in a streamline so that you have all your transactions run in a sequence, which sequence covers declines and attempts. Imagine that the customer from country X joins your business. They want to pay, they're not moving, they're stuck, they're getting angry, they're sending emails, messages, I'm trying to buy the product or the service. Obviously, it brings tension to you as a business owner. However, with the orchestration, we will just roll this transaction forward to the next provider without the customer even knowing that something is going on. They would just see a channel payment page, they would have to enter their details, and they would have to pay. Fundamentally, the difference between us and traditional gateways from here to China. I'm in Bulgaria, by the way. Why? Because a gateway is built for a single purpose. It's built to connect two parties and funnel information. That's not the case with us. The interface that we have brings far more than just transaction management and payment management. It brings you the key to managing the full experience of the customer. You are able to set which providers are targeting which countries. You are able to set which providers are relevant to your customer base in case of a larger amount of payment. You are able to set the design of the payment page. Most providers don't even let you stay on the same website. They would rather redirect you to their own website, which is called a hosted payment page, which every marketing company would say this drives less conversion. And that's true. The more clicks, the less conversion. The more complications, less conversion. The funnel of payments should be a two-step process. Select the product and pay. No more complications. On the time that the customer has paid, you should already know that they shouldn't be there for more than 15, 20, 30 seconds at best. If it takes them more than 30 seconds, then you need to optimize your payment experience. By that time, the customer already made their mind if they want to try again or not, in case they get declined. With us, we're shooting for the stars. We want a single attempt to drive coverage forward. And again, reminding that the benefit is to be on your side. We are a bridge between financial institutions and businesses, but we are also servicing financial institutions as well. On the payment provider side, they understand that it's complicated. The user base is far away from them. There's a million documents, there's compliance, there's onboarding, which takes time. All this can be solved by condensing this process with a streamline, which means you follow the footsteps that we have mapped for you, and everything can be done within a couple of days, let's say a week tops. Normally, a standard onboarding for even a small business with a generic provider can take anywhere from a month to 2 months, probably a bit more. Imagine you sitting on a chair and saying, okay, I need to wait a month. They're asking for something again. I need to submit this data, and you're sitting and saying, oh, this is a great experience. I'm literally on the edge of the chair. Now, believe me, that's what customers come with. That's the vibe they come with when they're tired from a previous experience. They don't know that they're experiencing that situation, but they do understand the complications of it. And well, what do you know? Our camera battery has died, but luckily we have a backup. So we are now at the point that you understand what it takes for a business to scale. It takes many different objects. It's an understatement that it's easy. It's never easy. If it was easy, everyone would be rich and they would all have these huge enterprise businesses. But I remind everyone that we are here to help all business sizes. For the smaller businesses, every pricing point counts. For the larger businesses, it counts even more because it saves them budget and costs. On our point, it's not what the financial institution would recommend you. It's what we think and know that is best because we see both sides. So the goal is the business to be happy and to have synergy with their partners. Right now, what we recommend is diversification of payments on one side if you're targeting global markets to avoid FX, as in currency conversion fees, and on second side to avoid customer loss of conversion. The goal is not to overburden the end client with the costs of paying. The goal is to relieve them of that and minimize the experience. So, when you think about it, do you understand that every single provider in the world has their own structure, which is interlaced with at least 10 different complications, jurisdiction, currency of the payment channel, time to get your money, how you get your money, and by which conditions you get your money. Any business that wants to run on liquidity requires speed. So if you have a provider that's telling you you have to wait 10 days or more, which is the case for non-European providers, for example, in Africa, why rely on something that drives liquidity away? Every business needs to survive and they need that liquidity to manage their stream. So we aim to give providers that understand the cost of your practical business and what it is that you're doing, because everyone can say you need to fit into the frame, but in the end the frame is actually them fitting into yours. It's not the other way around. So back to square one. If the orchestration is your friendly neighborhood guide to running a sequence of different mechanics, or in other words, connecting you to all the dots, your customers would use our payment page experience inside your website, embedded without having to leave, drive the volume, drive the conversion, run away from problems. On the backside, we connect you to all the providers that your business needs. Not only that, they're all following the same guidelines. And on top of this, your website doesn't have to do anything but receive a confirmation. Simple. Why complicate things? I'm sure that by the time that a business understands that orchestration is going to be mandatory, probably in the next 2 to 3 years in the global markets, your bonus points in that aspect are understanding the fundamental role that payments are playing in every single piece of business around the world. It's not about the money. It's not even about the collection of the money. It's about efficiency, because the business that you have, whether it's a travel agent or an e-commerce shop or a financial service or any other kind of service, it doesn't matter. Everyone follows the market rules. The market is what navigates business forward. Tomorrow, regulation will change and every business will face different constructs. It is very common that we get customers that have change within their ecosystem which they weren't ready for. A big example for that is the upcoming change in crypto regulation. For all European customers, there will be the so-called market in crypto assets law that will come as a directive after the 31st of December, which enforces very strict rules on how crypto works in Europe. A lot of businesses rely on crypto, but they don't necessarily want to get involved in the complications of understanding it. Crypto is just a part of the cycle that can deliver speed. When you're talking about crypto payments, you have instant receivable funds, instant liquidity, instant drive. Yes, but your accountant would say, I need to redeem this in your bank account. And then you need to say, well, what do we do? How do I redeem all these coins? You need a crypto payment processor that has that ability and is going to help you redeem those funds. Sure, it's maybe not your exclusive tea that you were aware of until now. There is a big difference between receiving money in a crypto wallet and running it through a provider. Every single part of the orchestration process runs with guidance, which means we give you guidance from understanding what you're doing to optimizing your business model in terms of payments to giving you guidance to make the right decision. And that guidance is not a book. It's not a piece of paper that runs on a template and someone sends it to you and says, read this, it's a guide. That's it. The guidance comes from experience. We are experiencing thousands of different cases on a daily basis, whether it's cross-border payments, whether it's funneling a payment process from a mobile application to a third-party system, whether it's even accounting, because again, application of the orchestration is not defined as anything more than a bridge. So if you want to make a bridge, you need to understand what the bridge is going to do for you. I've shared my screen with a simple chart. It's very random, I'd say, but the chart aims to give you an understanding of what we want to be in terms of allocating ourselves in your ecosystem. We're not replacing anything except the payment page experience. We're not changing anything on your website or your application except the payment page experience. We are also not sending customers outside of your website. So when you see the user and you have that analytics that say, okay, I'm driving ads, I want to know how much I'm converting, they all stay on the website. They don't leave for any reason. The purchase is meant to be seamless. It's meant to give this guy or this lady a very smooth and trustworthy experience. All the data that's passing through us is secured. It's encrypted, it's stored. We don't even have access to it because we follow the global standards of security. The platform is monitored 24/7 and is absolutely protected by any kind of internal interference. For example, a couple of days ago, the world experienced another change, which was that Cloudflare had technical issues. I got this message. Cloudflare is down. ChatGPT is down. Paytiko is not down. And that's the truth. Customers were in shock that thousands of websites were down, but we were not. And that's because our infrastructure is very, very strong. We are able to sustain speed all around the world without any downtime, without any damage to the user experience. Important part of that is that all your customer base, when they want to pay, prior to you meeting us, they are relying on your internet speed from your server. If customers from different continents join your website and they say, hey, why is this generic payment page loading slow? That's bad, because sometimes this drives businesses away. They don't want to use your service because they don't have the energy to wait for the loading page. That's factor number one on the speed. Factor number two, imagine that your user base or your customer base doesn't want to enter their card details for any kind of reason. Yeah, it's not always probable, but there is those kinds of people that are mindful and they say, okay, I don't want to pay this particular business because I don't know them. So you need to diversify. By diversifying, you need to have variable payment options. So we're talking about, besides card payments, e-wallets, crypto, and local solutions. By local solutions, I'm referencing generally everything that makes sense to the local market, whether it's a market in Asia, in the Gulf, even in the US. You would think that the global economies are all using the same flows. They're not. No one is using the same flows. Even now, Europe, for example, has so many diverse payment options that there isn't a single business that has all of them in line. Every single country is trying to stand out with their own unique wallet, with their own unique service, with their own unique product. Our job, technical work all day long, guidance all day long, creating a platform that you don't need to worry about anything but collecting funds all day long. At this point in time, we're servicing a bit over 4,500 customers. They are pretty much, I would say, anything you can think of. We have textile manufacturers, travel agents, financial services, small shops, retail shops, large enterprises, and online products that are exclusive services only, video on demand, whatever you want. All these businesses are aimed to grow, not grow because of a miracle, grow for the need of optimizing. Eventually, larger businesses and medium businesses are always on the lookout for an update. They're looking how they can streamline that the box of these customers here are in the same sequence as their business model. Okay, because pricing points are one thing, but everyone's selling the same things. They're just selling them better than each other. So when it comes down to the payment part, entrepreneurs come to us, they ask us 1,001 questions. They ask us even the most odd questions. However, when it comes down to it, we are a platform that helps businesses understand the value of themselves. Because most times, customers come and they say, okay, I've tried, it doesn't work out. I understand, maybe not always, but eventually you want to have that ability to give yourself a second chance. So the second chance is by changing and trying again. Payments wise, you are able to streamline the entire process with full transparency, with that key that you need, which you didn't know exists before. If it's relevant to the specific market or to your internal team, whether you want to optimize that as well, no more Excel sheets, no more digging in data. Okay, I haven't seen a single person that has to download Excel reports every day, cross-reference them using our platform. But 5 years ago, I used to do that. And I used to do that because I was without any other choice. I was in the payment space. I was running a large acquiring service, and that service had very much Excel. And you're thinking, why is it that the 21st century is reluctantly driving businesses backwards? Because there's too much innovation. There's not enough time for the innovation to be consumed. At this point, all that we want to do is to start the global trend of interconnecting providers in a synergical way. You don't need to be competing against large financial institutions which are eating the market. What you need is an understanding of your business and the pricing points that are relevant for you. If that is something that you would like for us to try, then you are most welcome to reach us, because we understand the burdens of cost. The platform itself requires a lot of maintenance. It requires a lot of hard work, a lot of deep diving into different points that reach and make sense. But in the end, it's all about that drive that we want to give the business. So I won't be demonstrating the product itself. I will be saving that for the next webinar, which will be with one of the team members. However, I will be saying that all the services that we offer are available all over the world at any given time. I haven't seen yet a single provider that can offer all these services under one connection without either getting your grandmother's certificate of birth and another 1,000,000 ton of documents, or asking, why do you need it? So simple as that. We are Paytiko, and we are here to stay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. If you have any questions, you can shoot in the chat right now. And if not, I appreciate every one of you.